Hello, 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 and welcome back to Venture Starters on a very, very special night. Hello. Great to see everybody coming in. Hello, hello. We're having a very special event for Venture Starters community. We are so lucky that within our community are amazing people like Rick Lewandowski, who is connected to an amazing group, starting with the Columbia Venture Technology Ventures, and also the NYSERDA, which Rick will be more than delighted to talk about. He's invited Tim Hoffman, who's the leader of the organization that's focused on climate. And this entire event, by the way, is going to be a very focused event on climate and clean tech. And for those companies that did not hear or receive an email from us saying that you're pitching today, you're probably not pitching. That said, there may be a few people that might still get into our event at the end because we left a little bit of wiggle room just in the event that we have some additional time. And for those of you that would like to pitch tonight, you must be climate or clean tech focused, and you can raise your hand digitally with the hand raise, and then we will consider adding you in later when we can get to you. For those of you who have received an email from Rick directly or from me, you're in the program. Rick is going to announce who is up next. I'm going to focus on the 2-minute clock, which we're going to institute tonight, and also the Q&A. So the format for tonight is going to be 2-minute pitch, followed by 2-minute Q&A. And 2-minute for Q&A, by the way, goes very, very fast. So if you have a question, you can only ask one question, and we may not even get more than one question in with an answer, depending on how long the founders go in answering the questions. And I do welcome everybody in the community who's here tonight to actually be able to turn on their microphone and ask a question. That said, we sometimes have train wrecks where a bunch of people all want to get in on ask a question at the same time. Please be polite and respectful. I would say women first. If there's like 2 people trying to get in at the same moment, we're trying to build up the women founders in our community as much as possible. And we'll play a little bit of favoritism if we have a couple of people trying to ask questions at the same time. The Q&A is going to go by very fast. And so for those of you who have not been to a Venture Starters event, please open up your chat. Everything is going to happen in the chat. As soon as you give your founder's pitch, you're going to go into the chat and leave your information so that everybody who's interested in communicating, getting to know you, can figure out how to reach you. And for those of you who are in the audience that would like the community to know who you are, why you're here, you're also welcome to use the chat. That said, please do not spam our chat. Don't cut, paste, and repeat a million times over the 2-hour event. And you can save the chat. So at the end of the event, there's 3 buttons at the very bottom of the chat. You can click there. You can save a copy of the chat to your own computer, and there isn't a need to just keep repeating the same message over and over again. I get it if you do it a few times, but please don't over abuse that situation. Oh, good. We're already up to over 130 people, which is great. Just we're getting started. So I'm really, really pleased about what's happening with our collaboration tonight. But before we get into the introductions, I just want to say that my wife, Norma, and we fund this community so that we can make it free and that it's possible to pitch for free and to attend for free. We are going to start looking for sponsors. If anybody knows of corporate sponsors that would like to get involved, please reach out to us. It does make sense for our future and for our sustainability that we do start to bring some sponsors in. We've been paying for the cost of putting all this together now for over a year. And as successful as we have become, we'd like to become even more successful. So if any of you have any ideas with regard to sponsorship, please let us know. I also want to do a quick shout out, and we'll do a more extended shout out in future events. We just don't have the time tonight To those of you who volunteered to be a ambassador, I understand that the group of ambassadors met a couple of days ago to form a strategy. I saw an email about it. Sounds fantastic. I want to thank all of you who've been volunteering to help us build our community into the great community that we can and are right now. For those who don't know me, my name is Mark November. You can look me up on LinkedIn and please follow me. And if you're going to go all the way to LinkedIn to do that, also click on the newsletter that I send out every once in a while so you can stay involved. If you're just arriving and you are pitching tonight, again, 2 minutes clock. You're going to hear at 30 seconds a ding. And at when your time is up, it's going to be ding, ding, ding. And please wrap it up, and if you can go faster and quicker, the audience will be appreciative, and it might get us a few more people we can add in at the end of the event who aren't currently on the list of those who are going to pitch tonight. A couple other minor little things. One is we're an open to the public event. We never know how many people are going to show up or who's going to show up. We actually had a great amount of registration, which means that between our live event and the recorded version of the event, which will be put up on YouTube, we're going to have an outstanding amount of people that are going to be participating in this particular project. But we don't know everybody. So those of you who are connecting, and you're connecting with others that are here tonight, just do your own due diligence and make sure that they are who they say they are. It's a possibility there could be a bad apple among us. There could be 1 in 100. We're already up to almost 150 people in the room. So, it's just be cautious. And let's see. I'd like to introduce my wife real briefly, Norma November.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Very nice group of people. Thank you for coming and attending. And I did want to let the ladies know that next week is Women's Founders Night. And it's going to be exciting. There's some things that are going to be happening, possibility of funding things going on. So I'd like all the women who are founders, please come and attend, and any man that wants to watch. The ladies are going to have, depending on how many people show up, I'd like to give them, if they have something complicated, 2 minutes to speak, but if it's not a complicated issue, I might ask you to take 1 minute to do your pitch, because my goal is to get as many people to pitch as possible. And I'm sure the people that are waiting their turn politely want to see us go faster. So, so next week is Women's Founders. I hope you all show up, and turning it back over to Mark.
Okay, and please, men, let's also show up to support the women founders that are in our community. You'd be amazed at what the small amount of percentage of venture capital that goes to women founders. We as a community are trying to change that as much as we can and put a spotlight on amazing women founders. Also want to mention, if you're new, the rules of our community are really simple, and that is to play nice, act nice. We're not looking to embarrass anybody. So those of you who are thinking you might ask a question during the event with the idea that it's going to make you look good and maybe not make the founder look so good, please do not do that. That is not our community. We are not a Shark Tank event. We're not trying to put on a show like that. We are trying to make everybody feel good about participating in our events. And, the 2 minute founders pitches are simply a tease just to get you interested. The Q&A is just to flesh out a little bit more information. But in reality, this is just designed as a networking community. So if you see somebody that you like and you're interested in, you want to invest in, you want to join their team, you want to add some value to them, please reach out to each other in order for that to happen in the chat. If you're just arriving, I see we're over 150 people. Please open up your chat, because that's where a lot of the action is going to happen tonight. And let's see. I think that covers all the early announcements. I will just say real quick, there's a few people that I'm going to be introducing at the very end of the program. Rick is going to be introducing most of the founders. They came directly through the programs that Tim and Rick are going to be describing to you in a few minutes here. They're amazing programs. We are so lucky as a community to be aligned and collaborating with all of this amazingness, I have to say. Thank you Thank you. And this is exactly the types of ways that we want to leverage the platform that has become Venture Starters. And I hope that you all take advantage of what you're going to learn tonight from Rick and Tim and all of the people who are going to pitch tonight. But that said, there'll be a few people at the very end, and I encourage you to stick around to the very end. I'm going to personally give a pitch tonight. It'll be the last pitch of the night. My wife and I are the first investors in a clean tech company, and it turns out the founder's not available to come and speak. He's traveling, so I'm going to actually give a 2-minute pitch, and I hope you all stick around to listen to me and hear about that. And there's also another company that my wife and I are very actively involved in, Circ Plus, who's also going to be at the very end with me. Please hang around to the very end. You won't want to miss out. And with that said, I'd like to introduce to everybody Tim Hoffman. And Tim is going to describe his background a little bit and what he does and do a screen share. But for the rest of us, please, nobody else do screen share tonight. The screen share is only really just for Tim. We are an elevator pitch event for the rest of the evening. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you, Rick, for the invitation to participate in this. I'm Tim Hoffman. I'm the program director for climate initiatives at Columbia Technology Ventures. Columbia Technology Ventures is the tech transfer arm of Columbia University. But what we do here in my team is support initiatives in the climate space. The one we're going to talk about tonight is the NYSERDA EIR program. As Mark said, NYSERDA, New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, is special to New York. They take a small amount of everybody's electric bill and form a large pool of money that gets used for the research, development, and deployment of new energy and climate technologies in New York State. And our program is funded by NYSERDA for the benefit of the startups that we serve. So as many of you know, the road to success is a tough one for startups. The way forward is often very uncertain, especially if you're a first-time founder. And so this program exists because the right experts can make a tremendous difference to help startups on the path of commercial success from early stage to growth. We have over 120 certified mentors called entrepreneurs in residence. Rick Lewandowski is one of our outstanding ones in our program, to help startups on a project basis. We believe they're world-class professionals, and it's not just us saying that startups over the last 5 years that we've been administering this program have rated our EIRs 4.8 out of 5 in terms of overall satisfaction. And that's over 850 projects. So mentoring projects, the main thing that our EIRs do is designed to coach, guide, advise startups and help them get unstuck or accelerate their path to commercial success. Our projects are custom designed to fit the needs of the startups and help them accelerate on their path. Projects start about 24 hours of a mentor's time and are extended based on the progress that's made in the relationship. Also, the most important factor for success are startups, and also the most important factor that investors look for, and I'm sure many of you on this call will agree, is the management team. A number of years ago, there was a study done by the National Bureau of Economic Research asking over 800 venture capitalists what is the most single important factor in determining success, and 47% of respondents said team. When you add everything else up, it was a lot less than that. And so team is extremely important, but a lot of startups are left on their own to figure out how to make that work. So we have a process to help match C-level professionals with startups by first identifying skill gaps, doing some personality assessments on candidates, seeing how those personalities fit with the team, and funding trial projects to de-risk the relationship and lead to better outcomes. In addition to mentoring and CXO matching, we offer pitch coaching to startups to help them prepare for investor meetings, customer calls, and competitions. We offer skills labs and workshops designed to help startups with many aspects of what they need to get through along their path to commercial success. We have our entrepreneurs in residence lead many of those sessions, and those are available online at the website that I'll come to in a minute. We also offer a climate leadership Slack community with over 800 members. currently. It's a great place in New York State to share connections, post jobs, get advice from EIRs, learn about events and opportunities in New York State, which is very supportive of climate tech, not just NYSERDA, but many other organizations throughout the state. We also offer peer groups. This is an opportunity for founders to meet with each other on a monthly basis to share about their experiences. It's one thing to have a mentor who's been there and done that. It's also nice to get the opinion and advice of people who are going through your struggles as you're going through them as a startup founder. Periodically, we introduce investor-ready startups with investors. Over the last couple of years, we've done 2 big events, with about 85 investors and almost 90 startups participated over those 2 years. And I think over $75 million was raised as a result of those efforts. All told, over the last 5 years, we've helped over 500 climate tech startups through this program. Startups that have accessed our program have raised over $1.5 billion in non-dilutive and private investment capital. And we facilitated 19 folks joining startups in a C-level position, which was instrumental in a number of cases in those startups raising money. So eligibility, startups that are active in the state of New York have full access to the program. Those who are not yet, climate tech startups are not yet in New York, we do help find opportunities in New York, and we can provide mentoring to do that. For more information about the program, climatestartupsupport.com. Again, that's climatestartupsupport.com. Very pleased to be here today, and pleased that a number of our startups will be pitching to you all. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Tim. If you can do the unshare screen so we can get back to our normal look. Thank you. Okay. Well, you can all see how impressive Tim's organization is and how lucky we as a community are to be able to collaborate on climate and clean tech with so many amazing people. I want to now introduce Rick next.
Thanks a lot, Mark. I'm Rick Lewandowski. I'm one of the EIRs in Tim's group. It's really a fun organization because we get to learn as much as we do teach. We're mentoring companies, but we're also learning extraordinary technologies coming out of the lab and hitting the marketplace. It's fun work, and it's a great group. My background is primarily as a serial entrepreneur. It's an overused phrase, but I'm not sure I can describe it any better. Started a number of companies, had a number of exits, not all of them great, but most of them. And I'm very happy to work within a consulting firm also, Direct Gain Consulting. And I also work with a number of incubators and accelerators throughout the country. So I've been watching Mark and Norma's excellent platform for a few months now, and it's very exciting because there's more and more people coming and joining. So I'm going to get right to it, and you can reach me anytime. It's rick.lewandowski@gmail.com, and if you can't spell that last name, I have trouble with it too. So we'll find a way to talk to each other. So our first company who's going to pitch today is a company called Predict, and we're going to look for, I think he might be here, Himshamshu. And let me see if he is here. And if not, we've got a lot more companies that are waiting. Let's Predict here. They signed in. Okay, maybe we'll come back to them. How about Uncaged Innovations? Allison?
Actually, it's Stephanie, and I'm here. Can you hear me?
Very good. Yes.
Perfect. Allison did the registration, but I'm here pitching on it.
Great.
All right. So I just start any time, or is there?
Absolutely.
As soon as you start, then the 2-minute clock will go.
Okay, perfect. So hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Downs. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Uncaged Innovations. Uncaged is a biomaterials company creating sustainable leather alternatives. There are many issues with leather, but the key reason our customers are looking for alternatives is the environment. The fashion industry is the second most polluting industry after oil and gas. From lawmakers to investors to customers, brands are getting pressure from all sides to lower their impact. And over 70% of a fashion brand's footprint comes from the materials in their designs. Leather is the most destructive textile. For example, it takes over 5,000 gallons of water to make 1 square meter of leather, and highly toxic chemicals are used in the tanning process. Brands can choose to use synthetic leathers, but these are completely made of plastic, which creates another issue for the brands. And there's significant opportunity for new innovations, and the market is substantial. The animal leather industry is $86 billion, and the synthetic leather industry is $63 billion. So this is our solution, bio leather, which is hard to show on the camera. And through extensive research, we've developed a unique formulation using proteins from grains that replicate the mechanical function of collagen, which is a protein found in animal hides. Our biointerfusion process also gives us the ability to adjust the characteristics of the material, as leather used in a soft handbag is very different from the leather used in a car seat. Our material is significantly better for the planet. Per meter, we emit 95% less greenhouse gases. We use 93% less water and 72% energy. We work with over 100 fashion brands, and Jaguar Land Rover is an investor. I've been an entrepreneur for 24 years. I've successfully exited 2 ventures, and my co-founder, Dr. Wang, is a biomedical engineer with a background in tissue engineering. We previously raised $2 million in pre-seed funding, and I've invested over $250,000 into the venture myself. We are currently raising a $5 million round, and we have over half secured. That's it.
So question 1 is, do you have any revenues yet?
No, we are pre-revenue, and we've sold samples, and we're getting pre-orders and LOIs, but I wouldn't call it commercial. And
what's the cost comparison between real leather and your product?
It varies drastically because leather can range from $5 a square foot to $20 a square foot, but we're going to come in at around $7.
And is the equipment that you need to manufacture already in the market, or do you have to have custom equipment made?
It is already in the market, and we've already secured contract manufacturing partners and done full-scale trials.
Can you contract out everything so you won't need $5 million? And what are you going to use the whole $5 million for?
The $5 million will be used to really just expand the team for marketing, to just lots of operations. But yeah, we will be able to contract out all of our manufacturing.
What will your revenue be after $5 million's invested?
I mean, our revenue will easily be at least 15 million.
Okay, interesting. All right. Does anybody in our audience have any questions of Stephanie? You can turn your microphone on if you do, and you can just literally ask a question. Rick, are you asking?
I see a hand raised.
Do you have competitors in the area at all?
Yeah, there are other companies who, for example, are using mushrooms to try and make leather. There's also a lot of companies that are using different type of fruits that they blend with plastics. So what's unique about us is our material is very highly durable. So the same durability same durability levels of leather, and we have the material is plastic free.
Great.
And Stephanie, is it completely vegan?
Yes, I'm vegan. That's why I started the company.
Love it. Thank you.
I would love to know, so like I love vegan leather, and that's most of the times I try to approach it with that, or I avoid leather altogether. But I'd love to know, in terms of the production cost and everything and the emissions, like because the technology is not there yet, how are you coming in different form? How you describe your processes and everything?
Well, we've already had a life cycle analysis done on the material where we actually, analyzed it from the grains being produced, like they're actually grown, and then the equipment that we're using for the production process. So we've done an analysis and then compared that to life cycle analysis against animal and synthetic leathers.
Okay,
Amazing.
we're gonna have to move on. So thank you very much. That was a quick 2 minutes, and now everybody has a sense of how this works. Rick, you're up to announce our next one.
So we're going to be looking for Eric from Breckland. Breckland. Okay.
Yes,
Eric?
I'm here.
Very good.
Fantastic. Great. Well, thank you, everybody. Yeah, so my name is Eric Belfoy. I'm the CEO of Breckland. We are developing a system to help farmers protect their crops against spring frost. Spring frost is a growing challenge for fruit and nut growers, where in late spring you get these unexpected frost events that can snap either the flowers or the buds of the crop and lead to literally 100% crop loss. Our innovation is a spray-on insulation product that's biodegradable after a few days of protection. We're a small team of 2 right now developing the first prototype that we're going to put in field. So we've built a proof of concept that works pretty well. And so the next stage now is to build a field grade testable product. We're looking to raise a very small pre-seed round in the next couple of months. And looking for partners both in terms of early advisors to help us with approaching the market as well as product development, and basically looking for growers who would be interested in doing field trials with us. So that would be largely grapes, but we're also interested in some orchards and bush fruit. Happy to keep this short and answer any questions.
Okay, excellent. By the way, that was great that you weren't just here asking for money. You were also asking for help, for mentors, for farmers, for collaborators. And I encourage all of the founders to not just come here for money, but also look for talent, because sometimes who you need is someone who knows the right people. By the way, Eric, I have a farming family I'd like to introduce you to. They have like 10,000 acres, and I don't know what all they grow, but you can at least talk to them. So, so my understanding of where you're at is you've made enough of it in a laboratory or a kitchen, basically, and then you've sprayed it on some plants just to see if it works, at least on a small scale.
Precisely. So we are using a novel approach to the chemistry to actually develop this. And so we have done this precisely in a basement, built a very basic model, sprayed it onto a test, and threw it into a freezer to see how good this was. And it was much better than we expected. And so now it's building something that we feel good about throwing onto a plant and that will work in a real world setting. So be able to actually apply it to crops and not only validate the technology, but also have a much better understanding of our cost basis and operational constraints.
Well, have you extrapolated what it might actually look like in terms of the cost for an acre if it was sprayed on using existing equipment without anybody having to invest in anything different than they already own?
Yeah, so the chemistry cost is somewhere between $200 to $400 an acre. If you throw on additional equipment, you'd probably push that up to $400 to $600. I would say that those numbers are very early stage at this point. Depending on the cost of our chemistry, we could probably drop that by half, we think.
Have you talked to farmers to see whether they can even afford that in their model?
The ROI, especially if you go into wine, is probably far above 3, closer to 10, depending on what your revenue is.
Interesting. Questions from anybody in our audience?
Hi, Mark, this is Mita. I just had a question. I think it tied into yours about the cost for the farmers and just the type of farmer that you're looking at. Are you also looking at those major companies like a Cargill or something that are involved in agriculture on a global basis? They work with a lot of different organizations like Black Cotton Farmers in the Southern Belt. So are you looking at that type of outreach since you are trying to broaden your scope, and how are you making it cost effective? Because agriculture is a very hard business, and our farming industry is struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I would say to just keep this very brief, the value proposition for us really feeds directly to farmers. So we see them as the true end customer. That being said, I think, agriculture is a very complex marketplace. It's geographically quite widespread. So we definitely see the opportunity to partner up with major companies down the line, largely on the production and distribution, but also potentially, could we extend the value of what we're doing and plug into other systems? So use it as a carrier, use it as something else, given the novelty of the chemistry we're working with. So yes, to answer your question briefly, yeah, we're looking for partners as well. But to be honest, we're probably a little early to be talking to Cargill.
Yeah, probably. Okay, we're going to have to wrap up because we're past the 2 minutes, but it does appear from me that you would be a great candidate for a grant. I don't know where they are, but it would sound like there's probably some money for you out there if you can find somebody who can write grants. Rick, who's next?
Julie with Aerovec.
I'm here. Hi.
Hi. Go right ahead.
Thank you. So if I were to ask you, what does a natural disaster first responder, a construction company, and singers like Billie Eilish have in common? What comes to your mind? What do you think of? They're all looking for portable renewable energy for non-permanent locations. I'm Julie Heddy, CEO of Aerobec, and we're developing a compact integrated wind turbine for those in remote locations who have critical energy needs. So think local generation for local use, think distributed energy as in microgrids. We are complementary to the utility companies. We're focusing on areas where compactness matters. One area that we've discovered is the renewables mobility markets. Our secret sauce is the fact that our blades are connected to both the nose cone and the rotor, so our entire rotor is rotating. And what we're seeing is a drop in pressure, which is creating a higher energy generation output. Our prototype, and it's a very functional, basic functioning prototype, was assembled this past September. It has a 7.5-foot diameter rotor, and the generator is a 5 kilowatt capacity, which fits perfectly fully assembled inside a standard size shipping container. So our vision is like a drop ship plug and play type concept that can be integrated with both solar and storage. And this could be for on and off grid, as well as permanent and temporary locations. Aside from FEMA and military bases and permanent placements, one area of focus is in the construction rental industry. Today, the generator rental industry is a $10 billion industry, and it's slotted to grow to be $17 billion this coming decade. So basically what we're seeing is that growth is going to take place because of the electrification transformation that we're all seeing. To wrap this up, they need power in remote locations, and we have a solution for that. Thank you so much for your time.
What's the cut-in speed for the wind to, achieve efficiency with your system?
Well, we're still optimizing our rotor, but the goal is at 7 meters per second.
And do you have any expectations on what the cost is per kilowatt hour?
Well, we know that based on like NREL studies that we need to be. Are you talking about for the capital costs?
For
the capital
capital
cost
and operational cost, to get to your electric generation output.
Yeah, from the NREL studies that we need to be under $5,000 per kilowatt hour. So our 5 kilowatt system would need to be underneath that $25,000 mark for the base unit. We are looking at premium pricing though when it comes to integration and the mobility aspect.
And what are the sizes that you're thinking of building? Like what would be the largest size you would do?
Because of our venture effect that we actually are very scalable in size, I'm sure there's going to be some point where the economics no longer make sense. But for anything in that 5 to 25, in that, right now we're 7.5 feet in diameter. We can probably scale up to about 20 and still probably be in that same range where it makes sense.
Does anybody have any questions?
In production.
Yep.
I have a quick question, Julie. Nice pitch. Quick question is on permitting, right? So most normal wind farms, you're required to put permits out and things like this to protect various species. And gosh, you don't want to put the thing over somebody's house. How do you work your way through that process?
Yeah, no, the permitting process definitely it's probably one of our largest challenges. When it comes to our size, we are creating these to be next to homes and to be next to commercial buildings. So, when it comes to some of the issues that the larger wind turbines might face, a lot of those aren't in effect for us. But what we are doing is, we're educating. It's a lot of it's at the town levels is where these permitting processes take place. And I do know of some that are accepting grants who are now revising their permitting process for small wind.
Okay, we're gonna have to move on, but if you're interested in what
answered your
Julie is
question?
doing, please meet Julie in the chat. Julie, please put your information in the chat for all you founders that are pitching tonight. After you're done, absolutely please put your information in the chat so we can figure out how to get a hold of you all. Rick?
Yep, very interesting, Julie. So David Whaley from Feedback Solutions. David here tonight? Or is David on mute tonight? All right. Pam Seidman from
What was
BYD.
David's last name? I'm sorry, before we move on.
WHALLEY.
No, he isn't here. Go ahead, or at least not at the moment.
How
Okay.
about Pam Seidman from BYBBA? Okay, you have to come back at the next one. And Novus, INOVUES. I don't have a name on it. Okay. How about Christopher Thomas from Chime Rebio Biowork?
Happy to break the streak here. We actually just changed our name to Return Bio. So, hello everyone. My name is Chris Thomas, and I have the pleasure this evening of introducing you to Return Bioworks. We at Return are on a mission to tackle the global issue of plastic pollution. We are doing this by turning low-value organic waste streams into fully biodegradable plastics for commodity packaging. This matters because right now, there is an opportunity for paper packaging firms to capture emerging markets in sustainable packaging that traditional toxic plastics are no longer a fit for. And they're working closely with us to displace these markets because there is a technology gap they must cross to do this. They need scalable, sustainable plastics to use as barrier coatings on their products. This is a huge unmet need for bioplastics to serve this market niche. Customers have been clear that other similar bioplastics do not work because they are based on production from food crops and are too expensive, and the mechanical performance is not a fit for their manufacturing processes. We overcome this with a technology that enables us to use inexpensive, regularly available, and strategically aligned organic waste to produce a suite of bioplastic products that can be easily tuned for different physical properties. If they need their product to be stretchier or to melt at a different temperature or have different permeabilities to oxygen, we can make that happen. Since starting this in late 2021, we have taken this from a biotech idea to a patent pending proof of concept to a bioplastic coated coffee cup early prototype. Over the next year, we are working with industry partners on turning this technology and tuning this to work in their manufacturing processes. And within the next 5 years, we are working to bring this to a full-scale manufacturing and expand into additional products and markets. We're looking for help right now, help to get the manufacturing expertise to make this happen. We're a team of scientists and other business experts, and the fundraising capability to prove this on a pilot scale within the next year. Thank you.
How much are you raising?
Still honing that in, but 2 to 3 million in the spring.
In the spring. So, okay, so you're not ready to raise yet.
We're not doing it right now, just doing the homework for this.
Okay, got it. I mean, do you have any idea as to the economics, whether this is going to be economical to manufacturers or who need who would need the plastic products?
The economics of it is the major challenge in the market right now. There are other similar companies that are making money doing it. They're not at the price point that customers need. So there's like Danimer who's selling it for $3 a pound. We're pretty sure we can beat that. And so, yeah, it will be challenging because it's a commodity market, though.
And is there, I mean, is your patent tell us about your patent, I guess, because we have limited time on questions.
The patent is on a platform technology to take these variety of wastes and turn it into that variety of bioplastics.
And then if you're taking waste, how do you know that you're not creating a toxic situation inside the plastic? If it's, I mean, what kind of waste and how is it separated? So, you're not, making a coffee cup that somebody's drinking that even though it's biodegradable might have toxic, problems.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting question. We're using stuff that is already within FDA regulated systems for food contact. Generally, these are wastes that are going towards food production or in food production or food related items. And so that's a pretty easy start for us as far as that. Food contact is important though.
Anybody have any questions?
Just a quick one. You mentioned about looking into manufacturing alliances. Where exactly are you looking? I think overall, like your pitch or some of the other pitches would be very helpful from an investor standpoint if we have kind of an idea of your overall market concentration, where you're starting from, where you're looking to go, so that if we have some initial contacts, we can direct them to you. Me being on Long Island in the New York area, we have a strong manufacturing base that many people are not aware of, and they're looking for opportunities. And that would seem like something that would be interesting for us here. So it would just be helpful to kind of broaden that scope, that this is where we are, this is where we're looking to go, as well as this is what we're looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, I will do my best to answer that super quickly. I'm a scientist. We don't have manufacturing expertise. I'm in Central New York. I'm from Syracuse. Would love to see manufacturing come back here. We need basically somewhere between a pharmaceutical facility and a brewer. We can't pay those GMP contract manufacturing prices. So if we're looking for someone who can enable fermentation.
Is your partner also a scientist?
I have a scientist partner and then a MBA partner who this is her second startup.
Okay, cool. Good to hear. All right. Well, I'm actually interested in learning more about what you're doing. Thank you. We're going to have to move on. For those of you who would like to ask questions, please ask short questions, because the 2-minute clock goes so fast. We end up spending the whole 2 minutes listening to the question. I know it's really challenging when we're trying to do this. By the way, we will absolutely have time for some of you who have raised your hand digitally to get in the queue tonight, because some of the companies apparently, I don't know why they didn't show, but they aren't here. Their loss, your gain. But this is still great. We have over 170 people in the room. Rick, who's
Mark, I'd like to make a suggestion. Maybe some new people ask questions so that they have a chance to be part of the program as well. So we should have other people ask, not the same people all the time. So go ahead.
Rick, go ahead.
Very good. We're looking for Dr. Ken Skarenko from Crystalline.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, perfect. Hi, my name is Ken Skarenko. I'm the senior material scientist at Crystalline Chemical Company. Crystalline is a small business that focuses on ultraviolet, visible, and near-infrared dye production. So today I want to talk about our product ClearWeld. ClearWeld is a laser welding additive for clear-to-clear plastic parts that produces a strong hermetic seal and a fully transparent weld. So when you're laser welding plastic parts, you produce a true weld. So the two parts melt together. It allows for a weld that's as strong or even potentially stronger than the parent material. ClearWeld can be applied as a solution-based coating, or it can be compounded directly into the part. ClearWeld works with any near-infrared welding systems and with lasers between 800 and 1100 nanometers. We can compound all compatible thermoplastics, so it's specifically thermoplastics. Unlike solvent welding, which is one of the most common forms of industrial plastic welding, ClearWeld is non-toxic. It's been tested for USP Class 6 to show long-term biocompatibility, and it shows no signs of cytotoxicity. When compared to traditional thermal welding, we see energy efficiencies over 5 times. And one of the big things, which would expedite that even more, is that it's doesn't require an always on heat source in between welds. So like when you're changing parts around, the heat source doesn't have to turn on, unlike thermal welding. Compared to friction-based welding, it doesn't generate debris. So you can't use friction-based welding in many types of electronics or micro devices. We don't have those type of limitations, so you could use it in electronics and micro devices, and also you can use it for larger products, which you typically can't do because of limitations geometries. When compared to things like other laser welding additives, the most common being carbon black, ClearWeld holds a competitive advantage in transparency and more importantly on environmental impact. So carbon black is typically produced by burning high concentrations of oil and gas. It produces fine particles of carbon and excessive amounts of nitrogen, carbon, and sulfur compounds. ClearWeld does not generate excessive amounts of compounds during production. It's already been proven technically and financially success. We have major customers from most fields of manufacturing, including medical, electronic, military, and high commodity goods. It's a stronger product with a greener footprint. Thank you.
So you have revenue now?
Yes. It has been slow. So I'm kind of cheating. We're not a new startup. So Crystalline's been around for a while. We just have zero skills when it comes to marketing. And so we inherited Clearweld from another company, and we're trying our best to market it. So you can kind of consider us a startup when it comes to Clearweld. And I posted the links in the chat. We actually have two different links. One's for Clearweld specifically, the other one's for Crystalline. And so, yes, we have revenue. It's a few 100,000. I can't say exactly how much, but it's growing. It's actually grown a lot in the last few years. So laser welding has gotten cheaper. And so now we see more people interested in Clearweld, specifically for products that require clear to clear welding.
Fascinating. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so what are your current struggles when it comes to marketing, and which market are you currently planning on penetrating? Is it direct to distribution, direct to wholesale, or which case are you going for?
So one of the actually, obviously, green energy is a big market. So we're hoping to look at battery storage, photovoltaics, and honestly, anything where you can weld plastic. So a lot of housings, things where you might need to be able to measure things through plastic, so it has to maintain clear. And so we're always looking for new customers, and that's the main reason why I'm here. Is it's hard to get the word out. It's not necessarily a very interesting or hot topic, but there's a lot of people that don't know we exist, and I'm doing my best to make sure that they do.
Well, let's connect post this. I don't want to take too much of everyone's time, but let's connect further.
Great.
Go ahead. Next.
Hi, quick question. With Clearweld, two questions. What is the material thickness that you can handle from a limitation perspective? And secondly, can you withstand IP67 ratings?
So I can answer material thickness. So we're typically doing 60 to 120 nanoliters per millimeter squared. So it's very tiny. That's the solvent-based material. So for solvent, you're usually putting it down as a spray. It'll then dry and make a coating. So that 60 to 120 is wet, and then it would dry and be, molecularly thin. For resin, we've done as low as 2 mil. We could potentially go lower, but we just haven't tried it.
And what about IP ratings?
I don't know.
Okay, that's a fair answer.
I just don't know any. I'm not knowledgeable in that area. I'm sorry.
No worries. We can touch base later.
Thanks,
Perfect.
Jay, for the question. Kenneth, we're going to have to move on because of our clock, but I appreciate that pitch. Really great. If anybody has
very much.
questions of Ken, please reach him in the chat. Rick, who's next?
Kelly Eccles with Levanten Tech.
Levanta Tech. So help you out there. So this is Kelly Eccles, CEO, Levanta Tech. So we are developing float and fly drones. So float and fly drones are a persistent sea-air interface that's capable of high-speed flight on demand. So we fill a gap in the current technology. You have quadcopter drones that are great, but they have limited endurance. Autonomous surface vehicles have endurance, but then they're slow. A need exists for a drone that can float on the ocean indefinitely and then take off and fly over long range on demand. And so the question, why hasn't this been done already? And that's because it's actually really hard to build a drone that can float stably in rough wave conditions on the ocean and also handle ocean winds. Well, we developed the hoverfoil. It's an innovative wing structure that's actually submerged while the drone is floating on the ocean. Our hoverfoils enable rough sea stability and also short takeoff and landing from the ocean. There's numerous commercial and defense applications for our drones. But the question, how does this relate to climate tech and clean tech? And that comes to the struggling U.S. offshore wind industry. As I saw in the chat, most people here are aware of the struggles of the U.S. offshore wind industry. Affordable real-time data is the key to enabling 24/7 construction of wind farms. At the same time, it's also the key to certainty of protection of endangered animals. So 24/7 construction of wind farms allows developers to save $500,000 per day. At the same time, real-time data provides the certainty that can allow regulatory reform that would allow the offshore wind industry to flourish. So basically, with real-time data, we can so get clean power. So that's the yeah. Anyway, thanks for that. And I just any questions?
What's your ask?
So our plan right now over the next 6 months is to do proof of concept testing with our first prototype. So we are looking for just a small check, to get us through the testing phase, and then really by 6 months from now, then we'll be ready for a seed round where we'll be looking for $2 million.
Have you started or considered SBIR grants?
So we've started that process. We'll hear back, should hear back this month on some Navy and Air Force SBIRs.
That's exactly where I would start, is the Air Force. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I'd go In-Q-Tel because they don't even expect you to be commercially viable. They will fund high-risk technology that improves intelligence and military communications and data collection. Good luck.
Great.
Thanks, Charles. That's good. Anybody else? If not, meet Kelly in the chat. Rick, who's next?
All right, Frank from Rentricity.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, let's get started. Good evening. I'm Frank Zamatero, CEO and founder of Rentricity, based in New York City, incubated at NYU, and a national category winner and runner-up of the Cleantech Open. We harvest clean energy from pressurized pipes where valves artificially dissipate pressure. We apply that power to the grid behind the meter or to localized hydrogen electrolysis production. We create revenue through equipment sales and engineering services as part of a total integrated solution that is easily adaptable to existing and new water infrastructure. We are seeking $2.5 million for up to 25% of the equity to expand the team and increase market share. We have been commercial since 2012 and have over 30 installations in the United States, ranging between 5 and 360 kilowatts, and are generating about 11 megawatt hours per year of clean electricity, primarily in drinking water, with industrial agriculture coming on strong, solely again in the US. The US market is large, with the DOE and Oak Ridge National Lab sizing the in-conduit hydro market at about 1.4 gigawatts. Rentricity is the only provider of NSF certified pumps as turbines. That's the Good Housekeeping seal of approval for water operators, which makes us a sole source candidate and is currently patenting a just-in-time green hydrogen invention. The company has generated over $5 million in revenue with gross margins in the 35 to 40% range, with only 2 seasoned executives, 2 advisors, and lots of subcontractors between Alaska and Nova Scotia. Our 5-year projection has the company producing 11 million top line with a 15% EBITDA. In summary, large market at an inflection point, 30 commercial installations, 19 in the pipeline, #1 brand in the US, exclusive partnerships, superior economics, pristine balance sheet, proven team and technology, and we are now poised for high probability growth. Thank you.
And what's your ask?
We're looking for $2.5 million for up to 25% of the equity.
And why do you need to raise money instead of grow from revenues and sales of your existing product systems?
Yeah, with 2 executives, we're a little constrained on getting out to all the corners of the water markets. And we have to also break into the industrial water marketplace, and we'll need somebody with that expertise.
Does anybody have any questions?
This is for...
Good, yeah.
Yeah, this is Duran. This is real quick. So it sounds as if the money is for hiring other C-level executives?
Let's call it sales engineers at a regional level, primarily.
Okay, I just wanted clarity on that. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, mine was kind of around that. So I think right now the main thing, it would more benefit, like, of course, it's good to have a sales engineer, but someone who can help you communicate your product in not just in terms of its services and everything, but rather why it is a good reason for all these other businesses that exist on a regional level to adapt to you and everything. So I think there's more of a marketing front you can consider in terms of just making sure there's more brand awareness before acquisition as well.
Yeah, I see the company being acquired by a large industrial entity that services the water industry.
Anybody else?
Just wanted to say good pitch. You hit a number of the areas within the time frame, so that was very helpful and informative. And I think kind of tying into Duran's question, just to focus on what those areas are that you're looking for, your primary and secondary targets. But good pitch.
I'd like
you very much.
Frank, I'd actually be interested in connecting with you outside of this event. My email is mark@venturestarters.com. My assistant will put it in the chat. I'm one of the founders of N by Organics, and we build systems that support wastewater treatment facilities. And it's a possibility that our team might be useful at selling what you're doing to existing customers and vice versa. Anyway,
Awesome.
Is there anybody else with a last minute question to Frank? Then we're going to move on. Meet Frank in the chat. I was very interested. I'm very interested to learn more. Rick, who's next?
All right. Don't have a name for this company, but it's Navia Energy. Someone here from Navia Energy or Flow Aluminum?
Yes, Flow Aluminum. My name is Tom Chepikavage. I'm the CEO of Flow Aluminum in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Wanted to take a second and thank NYSERDA. They connected us with our EIR, Dan Radomski. He has been a game changer for our company in who he's introduced us to and educated us. Flow Aluminum is an aluminum CO2 battery, uses no rare earth minerals, no lithium, cobalt, or nickel. It's lower cost than lithium ion. It's not flammable, high energy density, and it actually acts as a direct air capture device sequestering carbon. Our target energy density is 700 watt hours per kilogram compared to around 300 for a lithium ion battery. The battery recharges efficiently with a over potential of 0.05 volts, discharges in air. In terms of direct air capture in a grid storage format, 3 or 4 megawatt sea container, it actually sequesters 250 tons of carbon per year. It's the equivalent of 12,000 trees. Our roadmap is a pouch cell in the next month or two, and we will then build a drone battery as our beachhead and be revenue positive within 6 months. And then we'll have a grid storage prototype in the next year and a half, and then that will enter UL certification and then go to market. And so one of the biggest features we have is we perform really well in extreme temperatures down to -40 Fahrenheit up to 120. And so in the grid storage market, this is critical as there's extreme degradation in performance of lithium ion batteries like the Tesla Megapack in extreme heat and cold. And so we're not flammable, and this in EV and grid storage is a key safety piece. So our team, there's 4 of us. We have 2 scientists, and then my COO founded 2 manufacturing companies and exited those. And I have experience with several engineering firms and grid stabilization utilities. And our ask is we're raising a $400,000 pre-seed round now. We've raised 170 with another 100 match coming from UNM, and then we're opening a seed round of 8 million in the next couple of months.
So have you taken? So you've made samples, right, of the battery?
Yes, we have a fully functioning coin cell, and we're moving to the pouch cell next.
And have you taken your batteries to a testing laboratory that's an independent lab?
Yes, Polaris Battery Labs.
Polaris, my favorite.
Polaris.
There we go. Good. Okay. And what are they saying about it? Just out of curiosity.
They're not done. We actually in the next couple of weeks should have some outcomes on that. So.
Okay, I'd actually be very interested in understanding what you're doing. My wife and I have been to Polaris probably 4 times on 4 trips following various battery technologies. So please reach out to me through mark@venturestarters.com. You can all, let's see, is there anybody in the room that would like to ask a question to Tom?
Sure. Have you looked at building these, or what is your expectation for building up into packs or modules and then into packs? And I'm thinking more on the motive side of the applications.
Yeah, so through Dan Radomski, our EIR, we're speaking with several prototyping shops and shops in Michigan and elsewhere that can do the packs. Right now, Polaris can only do coin cell and
Right.
pouch cell, like cellular batteries. But there's a couple of shops in Michigan that we're working with to get into the packs. We're speaking with Honda next week, and we're trading emails with the deputy CTO of Panasonic, and those two could certainly do EV packs for us.
Yeah. And I'll put your contact in the chat, and I'll reach out to you after. Thanks.
Tom, have you talked with New York Best at all?
No.
Okay, that would be a good group to touch base with. They not only do a lot of testing, they have a lot of contacts throughout the industry, and they're sponsored by NYSERDA and paid for with New York State money.
Yeah. I'll definitely reach out. Yeah, I cannot speak highly enough of NYSERDA. You've connected us with the prototyping shops, connected us with VC's Volta Energy in Chicago. Dan has given me the full education on batteries. Yeah, it really, thank you. Thank you so much.
Nice. Always like hearing those.
Yeah.
Rick, who's next?
Tina at Renewable. Tina's not here. We're going to go with Edward from Groundstar. Apparently, Edward and Tina are having coffee somewhere. Okay.
We may need a better way for the next event to lock down who's coming.
Doug Lotz from Voset Wind.
Avocet Wind, yes, I'm here. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Doug Lotz, CEO of Avocet Wind. In the face of climate change and volatile energy prices, businesses and institutions are turning to microgrids powered by on-site renewable energy in order to provide affordable and resilient electricity for their critical operations. Solar and storage are currently playing a role in the $30 billion microgrid market, but thus far, wind power has been left out. While wind power is cost-effective at the utility scale, it faces major challenges at the smaller scales most useful in distributed generation. Avocet is developing a smaller, quieter, more efficient turbine to unlock wind power as a practical and cost-effective form of renewable generation for distributed energy systems like microgrids. Our patented virtual shroud rotor utilizes lifting airfoils at the tip of each blade to increase the airflow through the rotor plane. This delivers the efficiency-boosting benefits of a shrouded turbine without the weight, cost, and complexity of a physical shroud. The design's increased aerodynamic efficiency also leads to less noise, making the turbine easier to site and permit in and around the places that people live and work. Avocet is led by a wind industry veteran and a two-time startup founder. We've successfully tested our concept in small-scale prototypes, and we've received a grant to further validate the design in the wind tunnel at Brown University, which is thus far showing really promising results. Now we're looking at next steps for scaling and commercializing our design, with the goal of becoming the only wind turbine OEM to offer a broadly profitable turbine at scales ranging from 20 to 100 kilowatts in rated capacity that's competitive with solar PV and a wide range of markets. We've recently partnered with a microgrid developer who says that their customers have an interest in wind, but they haven't yet come across a turbine that makes economic sense for their projects. They agree that Avocet could fill that gap, and we're currently working through their project pipeline to explore potential opportunities. Finally, we're also working on additional customer discovery through the NSF I-Core, as well as the NYSERDA EIR program. And we're applying to grants for 2024, and we're having initial investor conversations for a pre-seed raise. If you'd like to join us in our mission to unlock distributed wind energy in any capacity, please check out our website, avocetwind.com, and reach out to connect. Thanks, everyone, and have a great evening. And I will preempt a couple questions. Two models, 20 kilowatt, 85 kilowatt. The 20 kilowatt model, we're talking about 15-foot blades, under 12 cents per kilowatt hour, with a cut-in speed of 3 meters per second, cut-out speed of 20 meters per second. And then for an 85 kilowatt model, 30-foot blades under 9 cents per kilowatt hour, looking at 8.7 for that, with a cut-in speed of 3 meters per second and cut out at 25. So just thought I'd preempt those, considering the last wind
Yeah,
conversation.
And thank you for that, because those were actually what was on top of my mind. But I'm just curious, like where's your competitive advantage? It doesn't sound like it's on cost per kilowatt hour. So is it just that you
actually it is, yeah. The that 20% gain in power efficiency that we've measured so far in small scale prototypes would equate to a 17% reduction in LCOE, which actually takes, 8.7 cents per kilowatt hour is on par with distributed rooftop solar as per NREL's data set. So that's just not something that any other turbine that's in that scale has been able to hit. It's mostly a physics problem, just to do with the amount of air that you can actually harness energy from at those small rotor diameters.
Duran, did you have a question?
Yeah, more of a suggestion. So I came in kind of late, unfortunately. I won't be late next week. So when you all are pitching, you all are very smart people. It's obvious. But when you're pitching to us investors, I get the urge to actually go into PhD mode. I don't understand the last few startups. It's hard for me to really understand what you guys are doing and what you had starting out. I have to listen to people's questions and then extrapolate. So if you're doing something in making batteries better, it's easy to parse it with something. Hey, the one thing that works in the Teslas that make the cars move forward, we're building a faster version of that. Elon, they own 90% of the market. We figured out a carve out to make it better to the point where Elon will want to license our tech. Okay, great. I know what you do. Now we can get into the minutia, because it's very hard to know what you guys are doing. And I just wanted to emphasize that I know you guys are very smart. This is an amazing panel of people, but it's hard to know what your products are because you go directly into PhD mode. Thanks, Mark.
Duran's an investor, so I can understand, and a lot of you smart folks that are founders, you like to use acronyms and the other short versions of science words that general investors may not know. It would benefit you, if you're talking to investors, to essentially talk to, assume that you're pitching your mother on your technology and you're trying to explain it to mom and use those words. Although I will say we have a much more sophisticated investor crowd tonight than we would have for some of our other topics, because of who we attracted in the room. But anyways, that wasn't directed to you, Doug.
So,
on the spot.
Well, I mean, if I could just add to it, I mean, at the end of the day, it's more power per meter of blade. It's a quieter blade that you can put in more places, which is important for distributed energy, because you want to be able to put this in lots of places that aren't wind farm fields full of giant turbines.
Well, that actually was useful, just saying it that way. So it did make some sense. Does anybody have any questions of Doug before we move on?
Yes, I do. Considering I live on Long Island, where we got 5 farms and most of them are being sued at this point, I'm not hearing any conversation about what's happening in terms of the environmental impact, that talking about blades and things of that nature. But what about the harm to wildlife? What's the protections in place for that? And what makes you different from the larger wind farms that are getting a bad taste, particularly where we are on Long Island, because of the rate cost post-COVID? How is it cost effective, and how is it going to be usable in a region such as Long Island, where we've got wind farms that are pulling out, like the larger ones, and the environmental protections? I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, it's definitely sort of a different scale we're talking about. So the sort of economic turmoil and everything that's happening with those wind farms that are pulling out, off the coast of New Jersey, for instance, that's a little bit of a different situation. Taking those two markets aside, on the environmental front or on the wildlife front, really, this kind of blade actually can enhance visibility for animals that are coming in, and also it dissipates. One issue is actually bats, for instance, will die in like the change in pressure behind a big turbine. This actually serves to decrease that pressure change faster, so that there's not like that kind of same effect. So we're looking at that. I love animals, I love birds, so I'm obviously very concerned about that. There's a lot more to go into on that front, but yeah.
Can the blade design be attached to existing turbines that other manufacturers are making right now?
Yeah. We're looking at repowering options for sure. I think of the scale we're looking at to be a turbine OEM, there's not a lot of as much value in licensing and that sort of thing. So we're looking at adding value as the whole turbine OEM. But we're having a conversation with GE tomorrow to see how things go there.
There we go. Good luck with that. We're going to move on. Thank you, Douglas.
All right, Ellie from Micro Era Power.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Hi there.
And it's good to see everyone. I'd like to just start with a shout out, please. First to Mark and Norma for creating this environment, and also Rick, one of our NYSERDA EIRs. Fantastic. And Tim and Caitlin, thank you for this event this evening. I'm Ellie Russling, CEO and co-founder of Micro Era Power. And in the face of climate change, there's some very important things happening in the energy space. There's an increase in the penetration of renewables. And because of that, increased storage is needed. And at the same time, we're using that electricity to move away from fossil fuels for heating and towards electrification of heat. Those two events happening at the same time are driving a huge need for energy storage so that we can have a resilient, reliable grid. But batteries are too expensive, and they're dangerous to permit inside of buildings. So we need a distributed solution. Micro Era Power is responding to that by developing a tunable or a flexible thermal energy storage solution. Think of a big tank, which we fill with a very, very innovative phase change material. After a global search for materials, we have one that is amazing. And we can condition that one material to release huge amounts of energy at the phase change at one temperature for heating in the winter, a different temperature for cooling in the summer. So we're developing one system for stored heat and cooling to provide flexible loads to the grid, resiliency and cost savings and better efficiency for commercial buildings, heating and cooling, as well as district and campus systems. It's really game-changing, and we have had excellent traction in terms of we've been awarded more than $3 million in grants. We just completed a demonstration with third-party validation from the Electric Power Research Institute and our utility partners, Con Ed and NYPA. We're raising $2 million so we can keep pace with the business development with so much pull from the marketplace, and delighted to take questions.
How did you raise $2 million in grants?
More than 3 million. And
excuse me.
over 2 million of that is coming from NYSERDA in response to their building challenge, HVAC challenge. One of the pieces they're very excited about is our integration to allow heat pumps to be more resilient in cold weather climates, and also to allow geothermal to downsize that ground loop by about 70%, so that we're bringing geothermal benefits at a much smaller cost point. The balance is from the US Department of Energy. We've just been awarded an SBIR Phase 2, which is very prestigious. That will allow us to have a fielded demonstration on a college campus next year.
All right. The reason I ask is because some of the smartest founding teams go ahead and find non-dilutive money through grants and actually do that process. And I'm always impressed when I hear especially numbers like 3 million. I'm so impressed that you can actually manifest that type of an outcome. The reason I'm even highlighting this is for the benefit of all the other founders. Many of you don't even think about grants. You skip by them so quickly, and it's a mistake usually. So I just wanted to point that out. Does anybody have any questions?
I would like to say, I would like to invite Ellie to present at our next women's.
Oh, hold on. Let's mute the room. We've got somebody in the background that's sorry. Everybody needs to keep their microphones on mute for our events to work right. Norma, you're gonna have to unmute. We're gonna have to start over again because I had to solve that problem.
I just wanted to invite Ellie to come to the Women's Founders Night and present her excellent idea. Especially love to see a woman doing this, and that you got the grants and you're you're doing very well. So please come and talk to the other women founders and let them hear what you've been able to accomplish. Okay, Ellie?
And all of the women founders that are pitching tonight, you're welcome.
Yes, all of the women founders, absolutely.
Yeah, everybody. We're trying to definitely help women founders as much as we possibly can. But does anybody have a question of Ellie and her technology? Howard? Howard?
Yes.
Is that you asking a question?
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
I love Howard. Go ahead. Glad to see you here.
Yeah. So Ellie, if you compare your solution to, for example, ESS Tech, they've got a roadmap to $20 per kilowatt hour CapEx. What's your roadmap in terms of CapEx?
You're off mute, Ellie. You're going to have to unmute. Sorry, because we had to do that earlier.
Okay. Micro-Era Power's technology integrates with the building's HVAC infrastructure. And what's beautiful about our system is that it is tunable, so we don't require deep cycling chillers like ice storage does. So we're much more cost effective than ice storage, and we're way more cost effective than batteries. Installed costs vary with the setting, but we're targeting a storage all-in at less than $80 per kilowatt hour. And so that is amazingly compelling. And our active material cost is about $3 per kilowatt hour. And it has a long life. And no matter how many times you cycle it, it continues to perform. And at end of life, we can recapture it and even sell it back in the marketplace.
So if I understand it right, you have an OpEx of some kind of a recyclable but consumable material that's $3 per kilowatt hour?
That's the material cost. Our return on investment, generally, if you're in Long Island, for example, where you can do price arbitrage for that value between on-peak and off-peak electricity, return on investment is under 3 years. And it's a 25-year life expectancy for that system. So the economics work, it supports the grid, it supports decarbonization and keeping people safe.
Yeah, the thing that I'm looking at here is your roadmap is to get to $80 per kilowatt hour.
Installed cost, all in.
Okay, so that's your CapEx, including installation.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
It's very impressive, Ellie. Thank you very much. We're going to have to move on, though. I know there's Robert, if you have a real quick question.
Real quick question. Can your system by chance replace old antiquated boilers? Because I'm working on a large condo project with boilers that need to be replaced. And with this, somehow we could bring this in. It's a 220,000 square foot condo building, the largest condo on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. So if by chance there's a fit, we need to talk.
We need to talk. That is exactly the space that we're in, and we can help and just bring so much cost savings, resiliency, and sustainability to it.
Fantastic.
I'll look for
All
you
right.
in chat. Thank you.
Love those connections.
Yep.
Keep Ellie in the chat for those of you who would like to further the conversations. We're going to move on. Rick,
Okay.
who's next?
Yep, Molly Hughes, Softly Solutions. Maybe she'll be here for the ladies' night. Philip Hartley for CleanFi. People are going to bed early tonight. Jay Frazier from
I'm here.
Dominion Enterprises.
Jay. Good.
Hi.
CJ.
So I'm co-founder and CEO of New Dominion Enterprises. We are scaling up the manufacturing and commercialization of our novel inorganic liquid electrolyte component for lithium-ion batteries and for lithium batteries per se. We address the problems that lithium batteries currently have. They wear out, they catch fire, and they don't have energy density. Our material is not flammable. It extends the useful life of the power cell. And because we're compatible with high energy electrodes, we are targeting upwards of 4.7 volts per cell right now. We have 8 companies that are currently testing our material. We have currently performing on 2 phase 2 SBIRs, totaling $2.2 million. But since February of 21, We've pulled down $3.1 million in non-dilutive funding. Thank you, Mark. Well, thank you to my CTO who's actually figured out how to break the method of getting this thing done. Currently pending 5 other programs that we have proposed, which if we get one or more of those, we'll have revenue through February. We'll have revenue through 2025. We are profitable right now. We're generating about $1.6 million in revenue this year, about $300,000 going to the bottom line. We've grown from 2 people in the management team, my co-founder, myself, in the beginning of February of 21. We've now grown to 6, and we're about to go to 8 people on the management team. We are geographically dispersed. However, we're now concentrated in Texas with 5 of us. Thanks to our involvement with the Clean Energy Incubator at Binghamton University, which is a NYSERDA program, we have an amazing EIR who's helping me with the financing and financial coaching. We are looking for $3 to $5 million. We've just now gotten to the point where we're scaling up our manufacturing of our raw material, which up until now was sourced in China. Now we're going to be getting it in a friendly nation. We also have 2 companies that are now evaluating our licensing agreement. Once we start licensing, we're going to start throwing revenue to the bottom line, with about 60% of the top line falling to the bottom line EBITDA. So we're on our way to being successful.
I know Jay. For those of you who are new to the community, his company is really amazing. I actually wish I was on his cap table. Does anybody have any questions of Jay?
We can talk. We actually, Mark, delayed funding recently because we wanted to clarify our supply chain and also get closer to an actual commercialization execution. Now that we're coming close to figuring out the supply chain issue, we're in great shape. Actually, our technical point of contact at AFRL introduced us to a gentleman at the Defense Logistics Agency. They have an open BAA, broad agency announcement, that we're going to be responding to. They're going to help us actually with the company that's interested in manufacturing our raw material.
So I'm happy to hear that since you and I talked last, that you have, I guess you're not getting it from China, but you're, can you announce which country you are sourcing it through?
It's
European. My question.
It's European, and as soon as we have agreements in place, it'll be known. But we have a non-disclosure agreement right now. But it's Europe. It's a NATO country.
Very nice. Jay's company, for the investors in the room, Jay's company is worth looking at seriously. Howard, do you have a question?
Yeah, 2 questions, Jay. First is the same question I asked Ellie, and that has to do with roadmap, dollars per kilowatt hour, CapEx, all installed.
There's no CapEx involved. We're not manufacturing the material ourselves. We're subcontracting it to other manufacturers. I'm sorry?
To your end customer, what is their capital expenditure to put your solution in place?
0. It's a drop-in technology. At the time when they make the cell, they're substituting our material for the organic carbonate electrolytes, and there's no change in the method.
In other words, you're not creating an entire energy storage system, and you're not creating an entire battery.
We're not a battery company. We're a new materials company that make the batteries better, safer, more energy dense.
So the battery manufacturers. So basically, in terms of cost per kilowatt hour, CapEx, what kind of difference do you make to your customers so that they can drop the cost per kilowatt hour?
Our material is going to be cost neutral, or very close to cost neutral, to the materials that we're replacing.
Okay. And the benefit is that it doesn't catch on fire or explode.
Or swell, and we allow you to use high energy electrodes that brings up the voltage potential of that cell itself. As I said, we're currently targeting 4.7 volts in some of the lithium metal cells that we've been testing in, which frankly, being able to get out to 300 cycles at over 80% capacity with a lithium metal cell is something that very few people have been able to accomplish.
Where are
And this
you
is still in
located
test.
Where are you located in Texas?
I'm headquartered in San Antonio, Texas. My CTO is in La Vernia, which is just outside. One of my PMs is in Spring, Texas. Another PM is in Austin. My co-founder and chief scientist is in Idaho Falls, and my battery engineer with over 30 years of experience in the industry lives in Malvern, Pennsylvania.
All right.
My weekly team meetings looks a little bit like what we're looking at right now. The end of the Muppets movie.
There you go. All right, we're going to move on. Of course, everybody can meet Jay in the chat if you're interested.
Next person, Robert Balzer from Green Street Global. And you're on mute.
Okay, hi. I wasn't sure I was going to get the opportunity to present, and thank you so much, Rick, for inviting me. And I'm really loving this event. Great job in, I have so much appreciation for the difficulty of the challenge of entrepreneurship. So I'm Robert Politzer. I'm founder and CEO of Green Street Global. We have a mission of making it profitable to lower carbon emissions from commercial buildings. To fulfill our mission, we have a vertically integrated solution. It begins with an introductory program for a very modest fee, which provides a baseline of the carbon emissions. We do a site survey to determine what the existing building, energy consuming building components are. We provide a roadmap of decarbonization, and we provide a number of cost saving strategies, of which can be on the order of $300,000 that we save for one client in our introductory program. Then we move into our building upgrade, where we bring 100% financing for all the soft and the hard costs of the upgrade. And we bring the entire team together. We provide project management. And our secret sauce is in being on top of all of the amazing new clean tech and prop tech vendors that are coming online. These are the tools of our amazing toolbox. So we upgrade the building, we lower utility costs, we lower operating costs, we lower carbon emissions. And by so doing, we increase net operating income and value of the building. So the NOI is the first part, extra cash flow on a monthly basis is the first part of the profitability. We also increase the value. So for the clients who are interested, we're affiliated with eXp Commercial. It's an international commercial building brokerage company. We can sell the building at a higher valuation, invest that money through a 1031 exchange into a new, bigger, better building, apply our upgrade to that new building, and keep on adding value at each level of our chain. It's a very complex process, very, very complex. So to simplify, streamline, and automate the process, we are creating a proprietary AI-powered app to simplify, streamline, and eventually automate the entire process of building decarbonization. And to provide those leading edge tools in our toolbox and financing strategies, we're creating a vendor marketplace and a virtual vendor trade show. The two of those together will be the way that we will scale globally after we finish completing our app and our vendor marketplace.
So, Robert, of all the technologies that you recommend to these building owners, is there one in particular that has the best ROI that you might share with the audience?
So just today, I had a great meeting with the sales rep for a technology, a very, very simple technology that optimizes the performance of PTAC units, optimizes the performance of split systems. So rather than wrenching out all these systems and all the extra costs of that, this is a very elegant little piece of equipment, can fit inside a PTAC unit, will increase the performance by about 30%. And Con Edison provides incentives to more or less pay for the entire cost of the unit. It's really simple, really elegant, really impactful, 30% increase in performance for these existing units. That's just one, though, of the miracle of amazing new technologies. Just like we heard earlier, this is an amazing time to be involved in this field. It's just spectacular.
I agree with that. Are any of your clients hotels?
Hotels are a great, great target for us because our best project is an owner operator with high utility costs and 100% responsibility for those costs. We're doing a condo, it's hugely broken up, right? We want a simple, and hotels have high heating and cooling loads. They're great, great candidates. All assisted living, great candidates. You know, listen, every single commercial building to enter the 21st century needs to go through a process of decarbonization. It's like in the Wizard of Oz, right? Snip, snip here and snip, snip there. That's really what needs to happen with all these buildings.
Anybody have any questions of Robert?
Question, Robert. This is Duran. So what is the app for?
What's the app for? To simplify, it's the brains. So, you know, right now, the way that these decarbonization projects are executed are kind of semi-manual, somewhere between manual and automatic, right? So there's new tools, there's Dropbox, there's spreadsheets and the likes, but there's not the systematized AI-powered step-by-step process that's so critically important, because a lot of building owners are inherently shying away from decarbonization because they know it's very complicated and they've been through shitstorms before and they have this visceral fear against it. That's what our app is all about, is to create this simplified.
So what I'm attempting to
approach.
What I'm attempting to understand, it's not a root interruption. It's one of those things where the time is short, so I have to go really quick with you.
Yes.
So what I'm attempting to understand is your app going to, on a constant basis, measure? Is there a core technology use case outside of the prospects of it being a dashboard for the particular building owner? Can I have the app and it take pictures and utilize augmented reality technology to say, oh, this portion of the business can reduce energy, it can increase energy conservation by 20%. Is there a core process that your app is going to extrapolate for the buildings?
All of those components, you're talking about virtual twins with data sensors, and that's going to be part of our overall model. So absolutely, that's one component of a much larger process, and that's the point of the app. It's so complex. You need AI, the brains of AI, to simplify this process.
Okay, we're gonna have to wrap up, Duran. Thank you though for your questions. Robert, thank you. Everybody meet Robert in the chat. And by the way, Robert, you're gonna need to meet with Yanni, who's gonna be pitching here shortly, because you two actually are a marriage made in heaven, probably, is my guess. Rick, is there anybody else, or are we moving? Oh, go ahead.
I've got one more and then I can turn it over to you, Mark. It's Ben Schwartz from Fluid Power.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thank you very much for your attention. And by the way, Rick, thanks very much for all your help. Rick is one of our mentors through the EIR program. He's been incredibly helpful, and I just want to give him a shout out and NYSERDA more broadly. I am president and co-founder of a company called Fluid Power Systems. We have developed a high efficiency, highly versatile HVAC refrigeration design and control system. This is scalable for residential and the largest industrial and commercial purposes. We can heat and cool in a much broader temperature range than any other technology out there. That is from below -25 up to over 140 degrees Fahrenheit. The architecture and the auto control system are novel and provisionally patented. We also can make hot water for domestic use or hydronic heating. We reduce power consumption by 60 to 75%, and we are focusing very much on the building efficiency space. So anybody who's interested in sort of making progress on that front, you're more than welcome to get in touch with me. Our next step is to go through testing. We've got multiple working prototypes. We know that we can get the results that I'm describing. Our next step is to go for certification and validation through Fraunhofer USA, which is a testing and engineering company. So we're looking to raise in the near term about $500,000 to do that testing and some other support activities, to build a couple of 2 or 3 additional prototypes. And that's basically who we are. That's my 30-second ding, and I will leave the remaining time for any questions that might be out there. There's a lot more information that I can provide, but I can certainly do that offline.
Are you complementary to existing HVAC systems, or are you a separate, your own system?
No, this is a separate system. This is basically the beauty of the design is that this is off-the-shelf technology rearranged and reconfigured in a novel way, using a new auto control system and refrigerants that I won't need to discuss here. But basically, this is a different type of design. So it is not a layered on top of existing HVAC systems. It actually occupies approximately the same footprint, maybe about 12 to 15% more volume. That can be either vertical or horizontal, but it basically looks like an HVAC system. And by the way, this effectively eliminates the need for combustion-based boilers, combustion-based furnaces, and inefficient air conditioners. So that's the value that we add.
But if you're changing refrigerants, is it something that is going to be easily approved on a state basis, or has it already been approved and you're just using it?
Yeah, these are low GWP, global warming potential refrigerants, and you know, some of the refrigerants we're using are not, you know, conventionally used as refrigerants, but they are technically refrigerants. Yes, and they're in the supply chain. You know, as we get into the low grade heat for industrial applications, which we can do, then we may have to design new refrigerants through a contractor. But no, we're talking about existing technology primarily, Mark.
Are you using phase change materials for efficiency improvement, or is that not part of your secret sauce?
No, that's not part of it.
Okay, you're not the same as another company that I recently talked to. All right, anybody have any questions of Ben?
I do.
Go ahead.
Are you replacing then the the incumbent HVAC system?
Yes, we are, and our business model is to license this to manufacturers, so that basically, you know, we outperform other technologies, and we're quite confident that, you know, companies that don't license from us are going to be at a disadvantage. So yes, we effectively do replace, either for new construction or retrofit. We're effectively replacing older units.
All right. Well, that's just a tougher road to go, but at least it's clear. But you need to make that probably very clear, and how you're going to win over that sale. Because it's not just the tech that gets people to buy. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that's specifically going to HVAC. You can't just rip something out. That's the dream of every inventor that has like even a 10x better solution. But
no,
I would address that in your pitch.
All right, that's a fair enough point. And you know, and we honestly believe that the energy savings and the regulatory mandates and the sort of imperatives driving the industry, you know, we don't expect to replace every single HVAC unit on the market tomorrow, but we do expect to fairly rapidly enter and percolate throughout.
Did you say you have patents? I don't recall if I missed that in your pitch or not.
I'm sorry, what was that, Mark?
Patents? Do you own patents? Have filed for patents? You do. Okay. Are they new and fresh patents or something from 10 years ago?
No, these are solid patents that are new. This is not rehashing something that's old. It was derived from another technology that's also very strongly patented.
Okay.
That we developed.
Got it. All right, I think we're going to move on. Thank you, Ben. Put your information in the chat. I'd actually like to see your deck. So if you want to, in fact, to any of you founders, if you want to send me your decks, mark@venturestarters.com. I always love to see what everybody's working on. My wife and I do invest, but we can't invest in everybody. And the reason we bring everybody together for these Zooms is we hope to share all of these amazingness, the amazing founders with as many investors as we can, try and get as many of you unstuck and flying forward as possible. Rick, was there anybody else on your list for tonight?
Not at this time.
Okay, well, you know, from my perspective, aligning with you, Rick, and Tim, doing this event has been fantastic. And I'm looking forward to doing more of these events targeting climate and clean tech. We're about to shift into a few more people who are in the queue who we're going to invite to pitch. But I just want to say, I think this has been very successful. And we're going to do another event on December 8th. And we will probably do another event in January. I was originally thinking the January event, we would poll maybe 6 of the best founders that pitch tonight and on December 8th and let them do a full deck pitch over like 6 minutes, like we've been doing recently in our unicorn themed nights. Although, because so many people didn't attend that we thought were going to, we might need the January event to be another pitch event before we actually do our culminating unicorn night. But I'm just really loving working with the Columbia Technology Ventures and NYSERDA. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not. He did a decent job. Very impressive organization. So on behalf of venture starters, thank you. I'd like to the ones that have digitally raised your hands, I'm not going to go in the exact order that I see you in, so forgive me. The next person that's going to pitch is Yanni, and my wife and I actually own a stake in Yanni's company, so I'm 100% biased when I say what he's developing is spectacular. And I do think that many of you will benefit from hearing Yanni. Go ahead, Yanni.
Yes, thank you, Mark and Norma. So in a future focused on sustainability, carbon credits will become the global currency. In the projected $22 trillion carbon commodity market, CERC Plus will be at the forefront of clean tech revolution, where today both the company and our investors stand to reap enormous returns. So let's zero in on hotels that account for over 1% of the global emissions. Few have options left to comply with stringent net zero mandates that don't require costly modifications, downtime, and worse yet, becoming stranded properties until now. I'm Yanni Darrow, CEO of CERC Plus, a family of intelligent automation systems empowering sustainable hotels with plug-and-play technology. We are gamifying your hotel stay so you use less energy, incentivizing with points that can be redeemed for carbon credits by hotels, on top of helping them reduce up to 40% of carbon emissions per room. So we're launching our industry-first smart room as a service to disrupt the entire market with no CapEx, full subscription solution that can be installed in 60 minutes or less. Traction, generating revenue, deep pipeline, and thrilled to share, I just came back from Europe with one of the most admired hotel brands that asked for immediate pilots for 2 flagship properties to roll out across tens of thousands of rooms. $5 million pre-A series round in a later stage. Lead investor, due diligence complete. Cleantech investment firm and national electrical distributor in final stages commitment by next week. So don't miss out. Planning to exit in the next 3 to 5 years. Literally hanging up, Mark, and heading on a red eye to Boston to meet our new investors tomorrow and Friday. So if anybody's in Boston, let's meet up. So this isn't just an investment, it's a chance to make history. Join our team and together we can create a more sustainable world, safeguarding the wonders of travel for generations to come. Thank you.
So to the audience, those products that are behind Yanni, those actually exist. So this isn't a product development company. This company has already developed these. You can actually put them in your hands. What's likely to happen is these hotel chains are going to install one of these in every single room. And this is going to be like the brains of the hotel room. And it's going to do so much in terms of saving the hotel owners and also improving the consumer experience to those that are renting the rooms. It could also be used in the hospitals as well, but right now the focus is on hotels. And if you're interested in something that I think is a good investable technology and team, please do reach out to Yanni, and good luck on your trip to Boston. If anybody would like to connect with Yanni before he leaves, you can, Yanni, put your information in the chat so everybody will have your email so they can at least reach out to you. Is there anybody with a quick question before we move on? Ellie, go ahead.
Yes, Yanni, I am really curious to learn more because my family, we actually own a hotel down in the Caribbean. Price of electricity is 51 cents per kilowatt hour. It's killing us.
I know. We're talking with Atlantis and Bahamar. The Atlantis pays $85 million a year in electricity. Before the rates went up 163%. Now they're paying $250 million.
Yep. I will be really excited to learn more.
Yes, thank you. And Mark and Norma, you guys are our heroes. These leads and investors are all a direct result of all the help that you've helped to expand our board and our advisory team. I can't wait to share all the things that they're doing. It has been transformative. So love to answer any questions.
Yanni,
yes.
hi. I would love for Jody to
Yep.
attend the Women's Night and to share the successes and talk about your product line. I'd really like you to explain to people, because I know what your product does, but I don't think a lot of people do. For instance, if a guest is in a room, what does this unit do for the guests? And tell them how great it is, the guest experience.
Yeah, so the system over here is our Lux system, and it's really positioned for mid to luxury hotels. So we retrofit in, we control the energy, the lighting, the guest communication, the experience, and it was rated the top technology solution by Expedia. We have a whole white paper on it. So that one is out there generating revenue, and this solution is our EcoSense. So that's our subscription model. It's no CapEx. We can literally deploy. There's 10,000 of those in inventory right now, and we are about to take off. So one of the largest brands in the world, I met with them in September, and they just said, can you extend your stay? We need you to build 2 pilots in here. So it's been a blur the last 2 months, but we are trying to really transform the industry that has been laggards. We've made it easier than ever to modernize and step into the 21st century.
We're going to need to move on because I want to try and get everybody in before the end of our event. And by the way, if you do stay to the very end, you're actually going to hear me pitch. And I'm going to do a 2-minute elevator pitch on a company that Norma and we were the very first investors in. And I'm pretty excited, although I don't normally pitch. But I'm gonna have to take over because the top people aren't available. They're all traveling tonight. Okay, so Karsten, did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah, Karsten, thank you very much.
You're up next.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mark and Norma. I also want to thank Christina Emery for letting me know about this event. I literally just found out about it. So without further ado, I'll get right into it. Our purpose is to solve for why clean tech, green tech, and climate tech startups have a notoriously hard time getting a foothold in the markets where they should be dominant. We've also de-risked our opportunity for investors with a novel roll-up model, where there's going to be 3 roll-up streams. First, we're going to do stream 1, which is acquiring clean tech, green tech, and climate startups that have product revenue and IP. And then we're going to have stream 2, where we're acquiring the distribution firms that sell these types of products. And stream 3, where we're going to be acquiring the service companies that use these products in their services. We have a great M&A team, a great investment banking team. We have our first targets lined up, and we'll be building these businesses and modernizing them and digitize them through the open EXO model that some of you may be familiar with. For our target tech companies, we have almost SaaS company margins. And our first target firm is doing 75 million in monthly recurring revenue and has over 40 granted patents. We could actually produce extremely large carbon credit amounts. And we've been told we qualify for what are called green bonds, if you're familiar with that. Our ask is $2 million, preferably smart money, people who are in the space. And we're also looking for community, advisors, team members who are inspired by our purpose. I'll put my information in the chat, and I'll take questions now. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to see your deck if you have one, mark@venturestarters.com. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I guess we're towards the end of the program. So unless there's somebody, I'm hearing a mic open up. Did somebody?
Yeah, can I pitch?
Not a pitch. Did you have a question of this person?
Oh yeah, I want to know how does he get the carbon credit? Because my product also save energy. I'm trying to get carbon credit for my product too.
It's
So
a process. It's a process that you have to go use a third party that builds the research, finds that helps with the model, and then you have to get all that data certified by a third party. And then
Can
once
you recommend me a third party, please?
I can, if you want to send me an email, I can share some of that insights.
Okay, can you put your email on the chat, please?
It's in there. Yeah. I'll put it in there again. So, okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Howard, did you have something?
Yeah, Karsten, I've got a couple questions for you.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, there is a problem in the market that you're potentially solving, that there is some kind of upstream financing to exit into. But the question is, where do your streams exit down later on?
Okay, so if I understand your question correctly, what we're going to be doing and the eventual brand vision of this is that companies that want to bring technologies to market would come to somebody like us, because by then we'll have a history of taking companies that were struggling and making them a success, and then either spinning them out or selling them off to a larger player.
Yeah, the problem, is that when companies in the climate space exit to incumbents that have deep pockets, those incumbents typically have vested interests that are anti-climate, anti-ecology, or at least, lukewarm. So say I've been in the climate space for 45 years. So say I was an advisor to your company, but I would not want to get involved until I knew that this really was solving this problem, because what I've seen for over 40 years is when a climate positive company actually has an exit, then their potential is diluted dramatically, because whoever's the acquirer is usually buying them to prevent that being a threat to their market franchise. And I'm asking you, how do you defend against that?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We just have to be, what's the word I'm looking for, vigilant to make sure that those are not the types of clients that we're going to sell to. In other words, if we're going to be selling, or if there's a bunch of potentially interested parties and we have options, obviously we're going to choose the one that's actually going to try to grow that business and have it make a larger impact, as compared to companies, like you said, that are just trying to protect their interests and their profit margins.
Yeah, except that the companies that are going to grow it and continue the vision usually can't pay as much as those who have extremely deep pockets from the fossil fuel era.
Yeah, that's a good question. In that case, we just spin it off and make it independent.
Okay.
Well, this could be a later conversation, but I wanted to find out how far you're thinking.
Well, Howard's right. And Howard, I appreciate that you bringing up one of the biggest problems in the business. And thank you for that. Everyone in the community, if you have a chance, get to know Howard. He is a trip and a half. He's a really smart guy and very interesting on multiple levels. I need to move us along, and I would like to keep our audience here just long enough to hear everybody else who's still in the queue to pitch. So we're gonna get rid of the Q&A, and we're literally just gonna do quick pitches of those that still have their hand raised, and I'll finish off with my pitch at the very end. Ravi, you're up next. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mark and Norma. I am new to the Climate Tech, and I think I only attended their last pitch, and I wanted to be on the East Coast to do the climate thing, so I'm glad that I got the opportunity here. So I think part of my pitch was already done by Chris. He was talking about biodegradable plastics. I want to make, I think we are making a similar product, but I don't think it's in the chat anymore. But let me take a step further. So we are ingesting up to 5 grams of plastic every week. That corresponds to eating a credit card worth of plastic. So those of my friends who don't care about environment, they definitely care about themselves. Hence, we have a large market base. So we are a San Diego-based company, and what we are doing is we are converting greenhouse gases into biodegradable plastic, some that you can see on my panels and behind me in the virtual background. So how do we do it? So we are developing proprietary microbial strain technology. They can consume greenhouse gases, and we have our plastic. And our initial economic analysis shows that just for a 10,000 ton capacity of a bioplastic that degrades naturally, we are able to remove 500 ton equivalent of carbon dioxide. That means taking off 100 cars from the road for an entire year. So that's a good number. And unlike the other companies, and Chris has already mentioned about it, they use vegetable oils to make it. It's expensive. Even with current numbers, we can make our bioplastic fairly competitively, not comparable to petrochemical. Team-wise, we are a bunch of nerds, scientists, engineers, and my buddies have raised money making biorefineries back in India. And my CSO has actually made this polymer before 10 years ago, and it was not profitable at the time. And we recently had an addition of an advisor. We got the former CEO and president of U.S. Exports and Imports Bank on our team. He's managed over $100 billion under President Obama and Bush. So, we are ready to grow, and we need your help in, whatever way you can help us. We are pre-seed, and we got lab space, and happy to chat with anybody afterwards.
All right. I'd love to see your deck. Thank you, Ravi. David, you're up next.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Mark, Norma. My name is David. I'm CEO of Sparkcraft, Australian energy tech startup, and we are in the business to reducing carbon emissions, which is paramount to meet our climate goals. When we think about carbon emissions and industries that are contributing to them, most people think about air travel, construction, the concrete, but we're looking at the beverage industry. Looking at the numbers, the beverage industry will create 1.4 billion tons of carbon emissions by 2030, which worst case scenario will cost the industry about $340 billion a year to offset them. The crazy thing here is 35% of those emissions are happening at the point of sale in the refrigeration at the shops. So those fridges, Coke fridges, Pepsi, Gatorade fridges that you see in the petrol stations, the energy consumed by those fridges mount up to 35% of those emissions, which is equaling $180 billion in carbon offset costs. So we are Sparkcraft, and we have a solution for that. We have smart batteries developed with our proprietary technology that are actually able to identify when there is green energy on the grid, charge with green energy when it's available, and once the grid gets dirty, when in the evenings the sun is down, we will actually cut off the grid and power those fridges with our green energy stored. We have traction with Coca-Cola, who is right now exploring where to do the pilot with us early next year, either in Australia or in Europe. And we're also in conversations with other beverage manufacturers like Pepsi and Asahi. What is our ask? Our ask are $200,000 right now to evolve our proprietary technology. We have patents pending on that, and to actually onboard 1 or 2 more pilot partners, which can happily be part of the investment. So a paid pilot, we would be happy to welcome them.
All right, David, great pitch, very quick. Thank you. Interesting. Amy, you're up next.
Oh,
there
hi,
you go.
I am Amy Broadnex. I am the founder and creator of Haunted Texas. Haunted Texas was created out of my own pain of damn near losing my career several times by putting my DJs and rapper friends on the phones with investors when they should have asked for money to fund an entire Drake tour, but they said, let me hold $15,000. So I had to break up with music and run the play myself. And now I am creating Haunted Texas, which is the first sustainable theme park of the future that is committed to staying ahead of technology and being the future of entertainment while keeping the truth about history alive. Questions?
We don't have time for questions. Do you have a deck that you can send people if they're interested?
Yeah, yes, I do. And also we cut the average carbon footprint of theme parks by 30 to 80%. And I think I need all of you guys who are here tonight to be my partners.
Okay, well, put your information in the chat and hopefully people will be interested in lining up. I don't see how that is share. So I'm going to move on from Howard. Tom, you're up next. There you go.
My name is Tom Magnus. I'm the CEO of High Yield. We have a clean technology that provides a unique opportunity to bring cost-effective systems that convert low-value waste oil to high-value green products without producing hazardous waste streams, and at the same time, deliver much-needed help in dealing with environmental problems caused by disposable hydrocarbons. The problem is only 4 billion gallons of the 10 billion gallons of used motor oil that's generated worldwide annually is actually collected. The rest is lost in operation, is burned or thrown into the ecosystem by end users. So on the one hand, waste oils are an abundant resource. On the other, a wicked problem. The U.S. Department of Energy has concluded that re-refining used motor oil is the most preferred option for the environment and gives the highest ultimate disposition. We developed the patented SuperSep Clean technology to re-refine used motor oil in the presence of supercritical water, to remove all additives, metals, and associated sulfur without producing hazardous waste streams. No other system in the world utilizes this unique technology to re-refine used motor oil. The typical UMO re-refining system produces 70% base oil and 30% low-value residuals. The high-yield system produces 80% base oil and 18% high-value ultra-low sulfur diesel. This results in a 20% improvement in gross margin dollars. And while we're talking money, the DOE estimates a cost of $60 million for a system processing 30 million gallons a year. We think we can build ours for 50, but let's use 50 million to be safe. We estimate 14 months for EPC, but not knowing the current state of the supply chain, let's use 24 months to be safe. So running the system at 50% capacity for the first 6 months, we're looking at a return on the initial investment of 42 months. So it's a big problem and it's a big ask.
It's a big ask for sure. And actually, I'd be interested in exploring a Q&A with you, but not tonight because we're running out of time. Put your information in the chat. Howard, I don't know whether you had your hand up to ask questions or you were pitching something tonight. I loved your hand.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Howard.
So I had my hand up only for those earlier ones.
Okay,
and I guess I did automatic, but I'm more than happy to just mention because, first of all, thank you for having something specially about climate and clean tech. Thank you. Second of all, I guess I should just say to deepen what you said, thank you earlier. You know, I was starting with NASA on climate simulation back in 1978. It's been 45 years I've been working in the climate tech space. It's taken such a long time to get to the place where we are now, and we have very, very little time left. We have to move quickly. So what I will say is that I have very small amounts of time available, but since your ask was for advisory board people, I'm available for a very select number of advisory boards and bringing both. I've been involved in almost all of these different spaces, whether it's the clean tech spaces or the climate or in the environmental or the ecological, and also the software, the digital, and the renewable energy spaces. So I guess that's the impromptu pitch since you called on Mark, and I guess there's some synergies out here somewhere.
For sure. And by the way, Howard, we're going to do at least another 3 climate tech, clean tech events in the next probably 3-4 months. So please keep coming back. I highly recommend Howard as an advisor. If any of you want somebody who's super brainiac to who's also very, very passionate about his opinions, very passionate. You know, Howard is, like I said, a trip and a half to spend time with. I think the last time I was on a call with him, it went for 5 or 6 hours straight. It was amazing and very memorable. Anyways, I'm going to wrap up our event with me being the final pitch. And I don't really have, first of all, I want to thank everybody who attended tonight. Thank you. Venture Starters.
Hey, Mark, can I pitch?
No, there's no
Can I
more
pitch?
pitching tonight. We're done with
Okay.
tonight's pitches. Sorry, we're over.
Okay.
The event is actually a 2-hour long event. If you want to come and pitch, you got to show up on time in the beginning and raise your hand digitally. It's the only way we can keep this thing somewhat organized. Being
I
an
don't know how to raise my hand digitally. Which button I try to touch it
reaction
and
button, look for the reaction button, which will have the hand raise. If you don't know how to do that, go on Zoom and put it in, or in Google, and somebody will show you how to do it. It's actually quite easy to do, but you may need to be able to find your reaction button. All right, anyway, so just to finish up, I just want to tell a quick story because I'm not the person that normally pitches rain ions, but a number of years ago, a gentleman named Mark DiCarlo contacted me out of the blue. But let me mute the room because I hear a little bit of background noise. Okay, so Mark DiCarlo had just retired from the US Pentagon. He had invented something called IMESA, which was a security system for every major military base that all of the branches of the US military used, which in and by itself was a miracle that he could invent something that would be adopted by all these sort of competing military branches. Usually they all go their own way and they don't share anything. But he did the amazing, and he had to leave the Pentagon because of health issues. So as a result, he wanted to still use his skills, and he decided he was going to solve air pollution. And he decided he was going to read every white paper he could find on what everybody was doing with regard to air pollution. And I'm sorry, I'm having some noises in the background here. Oops, hold on. I don't know why my phone is going crazy here. Anyways, so he basically read 1,100 white papers, and he determined that there was actually a solution to, at that point, air pollution, although he was also solving climate change in terms of carbon and CO2, but he didn't know it at the moment. He started down this pathway. He contacted me. He said, Mark, I need help building a business. I'm, basically a science guy or an investigation type of a guy. And I didn't know what to make of his claims. His claims were so outrageous, it seemed impossible that they'd be true. So I took him to the University of California at Riverside, UC Riverside, which has one of the largest infrastructures in the state of California testing for air pollution. If you want to sell a car or truck in the state of California, you literally have to go through one of, I think, 3 or 4 different entities, and this is one of them, where they have these multiple buildings that are off campus. I don't know how they received all this money to build them, but they have a whole team of people that will literally certify cars and trucks to be able to be sold in California. They have the highest end equipment, and they have some of the smartest people with regard to air pollution. So I introduced Mark DiCarlo to the leaders of that particular department, and I challenged them, and I said, is it possible that Mark has actually solved air pollution? He has an idea for literally putting a coating on the inside of the emissions piping system that would then act as sort of a catalytic coating, but without getting into science, which I'm the worst person to be talking science about. Basically, it neutralizes all the bad that is coming out of a combustion engine. So eliminating the CO2, eliminating the NOx, eliminating the SO2, basically getting rid of almost everything that is bad that's going on through the combustion engine process, and coming out of the tailpipe is nothing. Is it possible that Mark DiCarlo figured it out? Now, they, of course, were suspect, just like me. Could that be the case? So we gave the professors some time. We gave them some money. We had them research it. Lo and behold, about 3 months after we finally got their focus, they came back and they said, my goodness, this is actually going to work from a theoretical, scientific, molecule level. This could work. All of a sudden, I was like, wow, this is interesting now. So my wife, Norma, and I invested some money into getting Mark off the ground, and I started to build the team, and we've actually gone through now 7 independent tests. We just finished with a university in British Columbia. that is the most recent test that we did 2 weeks ago. Every single one of our tests continues to prove that we are eliminating most of, not all of, depending on how we make our coating. And we keep trying different ways that we're making the coating, but it's essentially eliminating all the bad that is being created by, at least in this case, diesel generators or, gas engines. And we eventually believe this will impact smokestacks. And it's as simple as, theoretically, spraying on a coating on the inside of piping material where all these bad molecules, gases, are essentially going through. And every time we've done this, the results have been so outstanding that generally the people who are even doing the testing keep telling us it looks too good to be true. It seems almost unbelievable. It's like, why does this keep happening over and over? Keep in mind, we've done this now. It's 7 independent tests, and it keeps proving out that it works. Now, our coating, we've been playing around with to try and get it right, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do coatings, but the ingredients that are in it are actually creating and mimicking Mother Nature, and it's almost as if we're creating the same environment as a rainstorm that comes in that cleans the air, and then the city, for at least the moments after a rainstorm has come through and left, the air is as clean as it's going to be. And the interesting thing is we've had tests where we've been able to break the CO2 molecule, which isn't easy to do because it's held so tight, and it normally takes so many joules of energy to break that, but we are creating our own energy within the pipe because of the coating material, and as a result, we're breaking the CO2 molecule so that by the time it exits out the pipe, it's no longer CO2. It's actually a variation of oxygen, and we're actually now trying to test for how are we transmuting the molecules and what is the molecular transformation that's taking place. And the equipment that air pollution folks have isn't as sophisticated as what we now need in order to explain the phenomenon that keeps happening over and over again. So for anybody that is interested in this particular journey, the rain ions journey, and would like to get involved, we're always looking for people who are smarter than our current team that can help us, advance this further. We're in conversations with Fortune 500 companies around the world who've been watching us, from the Exxon Mobils and Chevrons to the Ford and Volkswagens to industrial manufacturing companies. There's lots of R&D departments that are following the rain ions journey because they too would like to see if it's possible. We've ran calculations where we believe we can essentially not store or collect the CO2 from the environment as a different type of a solution, not one that's attached to a vehicle system or transportation or a smokestack, but one where we basically are just trying to capture carbon. In our case, we don't need to capture it. We just need to break the carbon, the CO2, and problem solved. According to our economics, we can do it for as little as $7 to $9 per ton. Nothing like this exists anywhere in the world that I've seen thus far. We're still an R&D company. We are still early stage. We don't intend on manufacturing anything. The whole idea is to license our multiple patents to companies around the world at the right time, possibly as early as next year. If anybody is interested in getting involved, we're always looking to improve our team. We are fundraising, although we have money in the bank right now, and we don't know how much we're going to need in the future, but we are always at least having conversations if need be. But the company has not had the problem with fundraising because we've always been able to raise what we needed at the moment we needed to raise it. And that's how we basically done it. And it's been mostly the existing founders and people who are part of the project who have been funding it so far. So if that's of interest, please circle to me through mark@venturestarters.com. That's one of the ways Norma and I are investing in trying to improve the climate and clean tech. We have investments in other companies as well. I might invite them to some of the future events. I love the idea that we're focusing on climate and clean tech right now. And as Howard said, it's about time. And he's been with our community for a while, and I know that he's been wishing we would do this earlier. I want to thank the Columbia Venture Technology Group for even wanting to do this. Rick Lewandowski, brilliant idea to put this all together so that we can do 3 or 4 more events just like this. And maybe we'll just extend this out even further into next year. If there's any companies that didn't or weren't able to pitch tonight that would like to pitch on December 8th, which is the next one that we're going to do is in this series, please let us know so that we can try and get you into the queue for the next one, which is December 8th. I'll have that event posted on the venturestarters.com website within the next couple of days. Please come back next.
30.
I'm sorry, let's say that, Rick.
We already have 30 other companies.
Oh my God. So we're going to do multiple events. So it may not be we will try and figure out how to get you all in. But I love that Rick has been able to attract so many companies through his organization that want to pitch. And we have some within Venture Starters ourselves. So we're going to make a real commitment to this. And then also we are committed to women founders. And please come to Women Founders Night next week. We need more women founders in business. We need more women founders getting funded. So please come, and investors, you investors, both friends and those that I don't know who just come to our events, please show up for Women Founders events, because we especially need to empower this particular, segment of one of the things you'll find when you go to our Women Founders events, we've done about a dozen of them, is we usually have some of the smartest ideas, and the founders are usually the best prepared, and it's the most impressive nights. You should be all attending a Women Founders event. We're taking the following week off for Thanksgiving. The week after Thanksgiving, we're going to do for the very first time gaming industry. So if you're into video games and the whole gaming world, I'm not sure how it's going to work out. We've never done a night dedicated to the gaming industry, but we're going to do this. And then the following week will be the next climate change. And then after that, we're going to have a open pitch, basically holiday party. So for those of you who have been waiting to pitch and you haven't figured out which night is the right night to pitch, you can come the following week, but be prepared to party because it's our holiday party. I hope you'll show up with a smile on your face and good cheers and good, energy. We're trying to create the community that is there for the startup founders and helping to manifest great positive outcomes. All of you make a difference. The fact you're even here is huge. Because we are a community and we can only move mountains as a community. And so we need as many of you as possible. Last thing I'd just like to say is the reason why we're successful is because so many of you recommended Venture Starters to somebody you know. Please recommend us. We need more founders, we need more investors, we need more mentors, we need more interested parties, we need more college students that want to be entrepreneurs that can learn from all of you and be better when they're ready to launch their companies. We have lots and lots of places that we can go and help Venture Starters. We'd like it to continue to be free. If anybody knows any corporate sponsors that might be interested in stepping in and covering our cost, I can assure you my wife would be very happy if I could somehow offset the expense of what we've invested in, as she calls this, your expensive hobby. I like to be able to make this last forever because we're actually onto something here. Something quite special, I have to say. So anyways, to those of you that stayed all the way through the very end, you're the heroes of Venture Starters. Thank you so very much. This was an amazing event. I look forward to more climate and clean tech events. Let's change the world. We can all put our fingerprints on the world by just helping out the solutions to the world's biggest problems. And those people are here in our community. Thank you and have a great time. We'll see you in a week. Come back next week. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Women's Night on Wednesday next week. See you there.
See you there. Thank you.
Bye.